ability to engage the public. We have the opportunity to participate at the election lines on the 2nd. So we had a canopy at the East Las Vegas gym. We were able to register 262 residents for the 12 hours of voting. On June 5th, we had a 2-hour event at the Samaritan Food Distribution line that lines up on 10th Street off between Mills and Reynolds. And we filed 112 residents. All but 2 vehicles chose to participate. Moving forward this week, we plan on having events at the drive-in on Friday and Saturday night. I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to pass by there this weekend. I went real early, about 7:45, just to see what the turnout was, and it was probably at least half full. It had a great turnout. And on the 14th, we were partnering with management at all of our apartment complexes to co-sponsor resident appreciation events with these types of incentive draws for their residents. So why am I here today? I'm here to bring awareness to the importance of census participation, to encourage you as community leaders to create your own complete count committee to promote census participation. And we ask for your collaboration, cooperation, and ideas in this outreach effort. We are excited to be on your team and excited to have you on our team. And we've already begun that collaboration. I've been working with Dr. Taylor, Mr. Hendrickson, and Mr. Grego in things we can do now that we have relaxed social distancing and plans moving forward to include a draw event for city employees. Our logic there is, as you know, you employ over 250 folks. Our average household is about 2.5 persons per residence. Those 250 would amount to about 700 residents.
Awesome.
This is my contact information. You're free to call me. Any of you don't write this down, realize you need to contact me later, you can get that from Bill or Chuck. We communicate on a daily basis. So our strategy moving forward will be these incentive drawings. We plan on engaging every single apartment complex. We felt that it wasn't effective or efficient if we're just sitting in a park waiting for people to come to us. So we're going to them.
That's good.
So our first draw Sunday will be at Las Vegas Villa Apartments. We plan on having 3 $100 gift prizes, several $50 gift prizes, and several $25 gift prizes, including the first 75 filers receive a coupon for a pizza, free snow cones, so those types of things to pull our residents out to spend the 4 minutes it takes to file, because it's extremely important to our community. We need every penny we can, especially coming from a low-income county and a low-income state. So thank you guys very much, and look forward to collaborating with you all in the future.
Thank you. Diego, I have one question. Is what more can we do to help? I mean, you know, I know you're collaborating with us and everything, but is there something that you feel like we're not doing or stepping up to?
Every resident has a part to play in this.
Yes.
It's our jobs, I think, as community leaders to not only participate in, but encourage our families and anybody we come in contact with. I've encouraged our commission to end every confirmation with don't forget to file for the census.
Right.
Because we cannot continue to perform at this level, or we'll be a village before too long.
Will some education help if we sent out some education with the utility bills?
You guys have met all requests to this point. I feel that you guys will continue to do that. We're advertising on the marquee.
Okay.
We've provided the utility department with images for printables on the back of the bill or inserts.
Okay.
I've given Chuck and Bill an example of the employee event that we're hosting with the county employees. We have over 200 employees. We expect to file 500 employees with a minimal expense. So unfortunately, the hard part, securing funding, is done.
Yeah.
But like I said, just as individuals, if you can encourage your families, anybody you know, to participate, whether they live in our county or not.
Can I ask this? Is feel like we could do more. I feel like there's something else that we could do. Are they going to allow you to go back door to door? Let me just, I forgot to ask you something. Access. How do people respond?
Okay, so that's a very common question. So there's a difference in our function and the function of the U.S. Census. We are not enumerators, we don't count, but I'll elaborate on how we've gone above and beyond our function to meet the needs of those that don't have access to resources. We're strictly outreach, encouragement, and education. So over the last several months, we've been handing out flyers, putting them on cars at the grocery stores, pharmacies, dollar stores, those common areas where our residents frequent on a daily basis. One of the biggest reasons that the state and the U.S. Census has provided the funding they have to states and counties is that it's extremely expensive for them to enumerate door to door. That process begins when the early response phase ends. So the only time they're coming to your door is if you haven't responded on time.
Okay.
The protocol for that is 5 visits. That has little or no impact to the overall numbers and is extremely expensive to the census. So this money is to be dedicated to get promoting early response to minimize that minimal impact and the expense to get the
Helping
minimal
people
results.
respond to the census.
Yes, so there may come a time where I'm probably going to call you, maybe even tomorrow, to ask for your time to record a commercial for us. That may come from any of you, a very secure time on both local radio stations for that purpose. As we finalize events, we'll call on you. This is a very quick implementation. Things evolve overnight. It's a non-stop. I'm sending texts out at 9:30 at night, 6 in the morning.
Do you have,
There is no weekends, so
do you have scripts for us?
I do.
Okay.
Through the media marketing resources that we have, they develop everything from business cards for events, general census filing information.
Thank you.
Whatever we need, Spanish, English, any language.
Okay.
But yes, I may call on you to do everything from record commercials, flip burgers, maybe hold a sign for us. But
Yeah.
any help you guys can afford us as community leaders would be greatly appreciated.
I'd be happy
And
to.
our engagement will become more and more frequent month to month as we move through.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
Mr. Trujillo, when's the deadline for this?
October 1st, it's been extended due to the COVID-19 circumstances, so we have a little more time. We'll be in the early response phase until the end of August, so we're going to do our best to engage all our mass quarterly living facilities. We're engaging all our home health and hospice service providers to file all their residents. So we have a good understanding of what is hard to count, who is the least likely to respond, and how we can get in contact with those people. Like I said, I'm sitting in a park waiting for people to come to you is a shot in the dark and is not effective and efficient in my mind.
Mr. Baca?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors. You know, like you all, like all of us, I'm very concerned about this. Mr. Trujillo was at the station, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. 4 months ago, I interviewed one of the main top officials with the census from Dallas. Then I interviewed the Secretary of Economic Development in the state, and they both told me that they're very concerned about the low reporting rate for San Miguel County. The Secretary of Economic Development said, you know, Joseph, people may not listen to the message from someone in Dallas. They may not listen to the voice from someone from the state, but they will listen to someone from the local community, especially community leaders, people that live in the community, people that are known by the community. So I played for both of them a PSA that we've been airing now for the last 4 months. And I've been trying to get other leaders in the community that they're hard to reach. I have not been able to reach Dr. Minner. I did get Dr. Rolando Rayal, president of Luna. He went in and recorded a commercial. So I would encourage anybody here, and thank you, Diego, for asking people to record more commercials. The way that a message gets across is, whether it's a commercial for a business or a message like this, it's repetition, 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 repetition. And it is good if people can hear the same message of how important it is to file that report from different voices. After a while, they may get tired of hearing my voice on the message. They may mentally tune it out because they hear me on the radio all the time. But it would be good to get different people on the, as you said, to record a PSA. 30 seconds is best, because if it's 30, we can put more of them in there and really saturate the airwaves.
I'll go ahead and give directives to the city manager to coordinate us going up to the radio station.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank Mr. Baca. He's gone out of his way to do a great public service at his own expense by conducting those PSAs over the last 4 months. So thank you, Mr. Baca.
welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work you're doing. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
It's an honor. As I told my superiors in my 23-year career, this is probably the biggest and most beneficial project that I'll have an opportunity to work on that will affect the most of our people.
Yes.
So I'm taking this extremely serious, and am committed to giving it everything I have, regardless of what time it takes, or
Thank you, Diego.
by whatever means it takes.
I appreciate you
Mr.
very
Mayor,
much.
one more question.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, Diego, if they would allow you to do this, or you said flyers. Have you thought of maybe to the restaurants that are open, see if they'll let you put some on each of their tables, or Walmart, Lowe's, that they would put one in the bag of the customers along with their groceries? I don't know if that would be allowed, that they can take it home with them?
Yes, we're distributing them on cars. We've purchased table tents with general census impact information for our local restaurants.
Yeah.
Of course, we couldn't deploy those because we didn't have in-house services. But yes, we're doing everything we can. We have poster-sized materials that I provided Mr. Hendrickson and Dr. Taylor for the city offices. So if you frequent those, you should notice those. The mailers are kind of hard. I know I'm very bad with junk mail. I'm pretty bad with even important mail. So I really just don't even read that. So we're trying, like I said, everything is to be effective and efficient. Even though it is $108,000, that money moves quickly.
Yeah.
I had to hire staff. I have a full-time job, 2 departments, and that takes up, of course, all my day.
Yeah.
So I require that assistance. Of course, they're paid. The printables, the gift cards, all of those things cost money. So yeah, it's all about being effective and efficient. So that's why we've chosen the strategy that we're in. And that might change. If it becomes ineffective and not efficient, well, we're going to have to find another way.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I think that if you personally were to call or go visit Mr. Phil Scherer, the editor of The Optic, and ask him, we're all the same community, if he would be willing to run on a regular basis, doesn't have to be a huge ad, but an ad, and maybe on each page, so that when people turn page 1, they see the same ad on page 2. Turn page 2, they see it on page 3. Impress upon him that he is a player in this effort, a very important one.
Yeah.
But I think he would respond to you as the mayor.
Okay, I will, definitely.
One thing I'd like to mention, Mayor, just real quick, so part of the media and marketing campaign is access to companies who develop and deploy social media advertising. And you all who use social media will start seeing those targeted messages and advertisements to our communities. They can get a geolocation by simply drawing a line on a map to isolate a demographic. And we'll be running these types of draws through Facebook, where a user can register and win a gift card daily by simply producing their confirmation number.
Good.
So we'll start seeing those. Like I said, we're hitting the ground running, and
Mr. Omar?
yes, sir.
Diego, I just had one question. Would it be a possibility for the city to put maybe a laptop at the senior center, or maybe at utilities where people would be able to access?
Yes, so we found that encouragement alone isn't enough. We're actually filing for folks through call parties. Our first call party will be next week, but at the election lines in the Samaritan House, people are intimidated by the electronic resource. So long as they sit in front of us, our staff is actually filing for them. So yes, any opportunity you see or you need us to be somewhere, we're willing to do that. We
Thank
have
you.
paid staff that'll meet those needs.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, one last point that's very important as well. If we are undercounted, I don't know if the general public knows this, we stand to lose another delegate in Washington. If we're way up there in the reporting rate, we could gain another delegate. And what we don't need is less representation in Washington, we need more.
Yes.
So, thank you, Mayor,
Thank you.
councilors.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, folks.
Trujillo.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Ortiz.
Trujillo. Thank you so much.
Glad to see you, they put you to work. Ben. Next presentation, Maria Del Valle, the drinking water report.
Good evening.
Hello.
Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager. I'm here today to talk about the 2019 Consumer Confidence Report, which is our annual water quality report. I believe, hopefully you were provided it in your box. You are going to receive it. We did also try and send it out via email. It is on the city's website. We will be mailing it out to customers, and we will be placing it at strategic places around town. So the report of our water quality includes an actual statement on the quality of our water. It explains our treatment process. It also covers some general information and tips, lists our sampling results for the last year, and documents any violations. So the city of Las Vegas has excellent water. We have a great water source, and since we start with the highest quality of water, we're able to provide to our customers the highest quality of water. All of our sampling results for 2019 came back below MCL or action levels. So they're all within standards or below standards, in the good range. We did have 4 violations. One was for a late submission of our CCR. So every year, we're required to have this ready for the community by July 1st, but we'd have to have it available to the World College and El Creston by April 1st. We were late in 2019. We provided it to them on April 23rd. So that violation was cleared within the month. We had 2 sampling violations. There are quarterly samples that must be taken, and they're required to be taken in the middle of the month. They were taken the first week of the following month. So that was a violation. Even though we did take them, we didn't take them within the middle month. That's been addressed. There is a sampling schedule that my staff must follow that defines when they're to take the samples. And then the last one is I have monthly reports that are due to the state by the 10th of the month. We had submitted them by the 10th. One of them came back with an error, so by the time I corrected it, I submitted it on the 11th of the month. So those were the errors, the violations. Other than that, our water is plentiful, and it is of high quality, and we exceed all EPA requirements.
That's fantastic, thank you. Thank you for all your work. I know it
Thank
takes a lot of work.
I have a good staff, really good staff that stay very, very busy, especially with the sampling.
Yeah.
That's basically what they do constantly, every month.
Yeah.
There's weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual samplings.
And we're just blessed with the quality of water that we have.
We have great water.
Yeah.
There is a sample process that's going on right now. It's called UCMR4, Uncontaminated Monitoring Report. This is the 4th cycle of it. It's required by the EPA. Usually when we go through the first process, we end up being pulled off the sampling requirements because our water is so of high quality. What they're looking for there would be chemicals from hairsprays, pharmaceuticals, and we don't have it at our source, so we don't usually have to deal with
That's
it.
great.
So I
Thank
can
you,
answer any
Maria.
questions.
Mr. Mayor, one question.
Yes.
Are you still planning to have that tour for mayor and council facilities on the 19th?
Yes, I was working with the city manager on scheduling a
Okay.
tour.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Maria.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next item on the agenda is executive session.
Yes. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
what was it for? Was it personnel or?
It's legal issues.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to enter executive session for matters pertaining to attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the city of Las Vegas is or may become a participant as permitted by Section 10-15-187 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act.
Thank you. There's a motion? Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call?
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Baca?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. We will be back as soon as we can, people. It won't take long. Are you ready, Danielle? Okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion to go, to leave the executive session.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
make a motion to leave executive session as permitted by Section 10-15-187 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act.
thank you. Mr. Romero, first? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, and is that to also reconvene back into regular session?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'd also like to note for the record that only those matters specified in the motion for closure of the meeting were discussed by the council in executive session. No other matters were discussed by the council.
Thank you. There's a motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Montoya?
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Baca?
Yes.
Counselor Metoyer?
Yes.
Counselor Romero? Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Metoyer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, next item on the agenda is the discussion items. We have our first item, which is the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board request to use Lodgers Tax funding for the purchase of marketing software. We have Mr. Kutek Bakta, our Lodgers Tax Chairman, to present.
Welcome, Kutik. Thanks for coming tonight.
Mr. Mayo, Council. All right, our first item, we recently, the Lodgers Tax Board recently met on the 26th. And what we wanted to discuss for that meeting was what we can do immediately. We looked at our budget, and with the COVID situation, we realized our budget's going to be a lot different from what it has been in the past. We're going to meet on the 12th to discuss what we're going to do with the rest of the budget this Friday. So we'll have another report to you when we discuss those items. But today, there's 3 items that we thought that needed to be addressed right away, so that next week you guys can approve. So this first one is a request from the city media coordinator, and it's basically licenses for Adobe Creative Cloud, and that software is essential, for the city side of things to help in marketing, video, animation, design for billboards or ads, and so that essentially helps on the city's end for media and marketing creation. I believe the total on that is about $1,800.
Okay. Go ahead with the...
All right, and so for the second item is for the approval of our New Mexico 2 campaign in coordination with Las Vegas First Business Alliance. And on the agenda, it does say securing billboards, but it's actually the entire campaign. There are a few billboards in the campaign. We felt this was important because we wanted to make sure that we could have the funds matched by the state with what they're doing with New Mexico True. And so essentially, for what this campaign is, we're spending about $60,000, but we're getting about $80,000 matched back.
Good.
So that's something we definitely did not want to miss out on. We were already going to be short on funds. So we thought it was essential that we needed to get that out and get that done for New Mexico True. On this year, the suggestion from the board was to push more for digital. A lot of people have been at home, and so I thought this was the right time when we do that, and essentially that's been the guidance from the state as well, because it's able to reach quite a few people at a lower cost than some of the traditional ways.
Good.
And when business returns as usual, we can continue on. It's not like we're closing off any other avenues, but we felt this would be a good focus while people are at home, in addition to some of the billboards and so on, if people are enticed to make the drive.
Sure.
The targets for New Mexico True that we're targeting for our campaign are closer to home, so it's a fighting chance for people to drive to our area.
Okay.
So it would be the Albuquerque area, Albuquerque, Santa Fe area from there, on the West Texas and Southern Colorado,
Okay.
Denver on south.
I just have a comment, and for people who are not familiar with what lodger's tax is, the viewing public, it's a tax that people pay when they stay in a hotel or a motel in Las Vegas, and that money is used for these purposes, to attract more people to come into our town and spend the night, and to tour our town and visit Las Vegas. So just for the viewing public, I wanted to clarify that. Some people aren't aware of what lodger's tax is, but I think you guys are doing good with what you have in this situation. My hat goes out to you. I know you own a couple of properties in Las Vegas, and I know that this has been a very difficult time for all the hotels and motels in our community. And it's been such an impact on everybody, on property owners, on visiting people wanting to stay there, and you have your capacity now, and I just want to tip my hat to you and thank you for putting up with this and not closing any of your properties. And I'm sure there are options for you during this COVID scare, but thanks for holding up in this very difficult time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I had a question on the software, the marketing software.
Yes.
How was this getting done before? Because we have a media coordinator, and I thought that's what they were doing already. I mean, is the license expired, or what's the reason?
I think some licenses expire. A lot of it's cloud-based, so software has kind of shifted these days, where before you could buy a piece of software and use it for a good amount of time, but it would be quite out of date. Adobe was one of the leaders in cloud-based and then subscription-based things. Microsoft Office would be another one where majority of the time, I mean, people used to keep Office for years to decades. Now it's more of a monthly to yearly subscription, and you would renew. But along with it comes upgrades and updates. So that's usually kind of business as usual these days with software.
And the other question was, I see that we're requesting 2 licenses, but I'm familiar with, the Adobe, Microsoft, all those, and I know we would pay one fee for so many licenses.
Okay.
So, that's my first question is, the one fee would usually include so many licenses, but we're buying 2. Is that just for 2 computers? And the second part to that question is the accountability. Who's to say that this license wouldn't be put on a personal computer and used for personal use instead of just city?
I believe, look, because, some of this is built into the software themselves. Adobe themselves they want their money. So they themselves don't want multiple licenses on different laptops and so on. And so some of that control is already there. Now, whether you're using it outside the city or not, that's a city staffing matter on how employees would be.
So how would we, I guess the question would probably be to the city manager, how would we assure that it's not given in use for personal use instead of city? And then the other part to that is other departments could use it. The library would be able to use this license also to make up flyers or whatever promotion within, let's say, the library or transportation. Why specifically just for?
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Well, it'd be under the control of IT.
Yeah.
IT would basically control the license and install it on the appropriate computer.
So
I would imagine
we
that.
have procedures in place to make sure that it's not being used for home use.
That's correct.
Thank you.
It's something that that the Rogers expert, and that's what we approved it. We thought that this would help, for marketing. We felt that this is something that fits underneath tourism and marketing of, and I'm glad you brought up, and this is what lodger's tax funding can be used for, is that as long as it's within this purview of tourism and bringing, in marketing and bringing visitors to town to spend money in our, it wasn't just our hotels that went down, our restaurants went down, a lot of our businesses went down. So the whole point is to use some of these monies to bring visitors in, spend money here. And in that way, we can also collect more taxes and keep this going. We want to shop local, we want to do all of those things, but this money is used to bring people in to shop here in our businesses, our local businesses. This is how we can survive. I know we want to, or we may have concerns on how this money is spent, but I need everybody to remember, and it's in the ordinance and so on, that the focus on this particular tax, and it's collected, by hotels, is for marketing and tourism.
Thank you.
My other comment, Mr. Mayor, is thank you for bringing these items to us from the Lodgers Board. In prior, a lot of the times the council was bypassed on a lot of these items, and again, the Lodgers Board is an advisory board that comes, brings these items to council, and ultimately we're the approver of these items. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing us back to order.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank you for coming to our council meetings. The last time we missed somebody from Lodgers Tax. But my question to you is the business community going to be able to use this? The small business?
It depends on the campaign that we're doing, either through the city or through Lodgers Tax or whatever. But yes, it's part of the New Mexico Troop.
Yes.
So anything that we design, we'll be doing the designing for billboards and any of the advertising that we do in-house will be utilized by this software.
Yeah, because it's hard for the small businesses to start back up now, and they're going to need a little bit of help advertising and stuff like that.
So we have to be a little bit careful about the anti-donation, but for instance, we did help the drive-in theater do their brochure. They printed it all up, but we helped them with the design.
Thank you.
Mr. Baca?
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. I guess this will be for Mr. Hendrickson. Here in the near future, I'm setting up an interview with the Tourism Development Director of that department, but have you touched base with them to see, the state's going to have to rethink totally what approach they're going to use for marketing, what audience are they going to try to reach? Have you touched base with them to see what the state is thinking to approach the deal with the marketing so that we can align ourselves with what they're doing?
Yeah, the whole New Mexico True package is designed around the COVID recovery.
Yeah.
And so there's, depending on what is transpiring, where are we at in that, their package would be adjusted accordingly. So you wouldn't be just throwing money at a market that can't get here for some reason.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the reasons why this package, right up front is designed a lot less or none to do with airports, for instance. Because traveling public is not going to be going through the
Right.
airports too for a while.
Right.
So those type of things are already built in as to, when that opens up, maybe we'll go ahead and do that. But right now, the way the packages are designed is exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the council? Go ahead,
One
Mr.
last
Mayor.
question. Since we have you here, and Mr. Hendrickson could explain, clear this up, because I heard that Las Vegas was considering opting out of New Mexico True. Is that false?
No.
We're going to continue with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is a New Mexico True campaign.
And, okay, I just wanted to make sure and clear things up.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
What's the pleasure of the council? Go ahead.
Before we do that,
Mr.
Mr. Mayor, this discussion brought up another discussion that I had with someone 2-3 years ago, and I asked, with New Mexico True, I asked this person, how come Las Vegas is never featured in those TV commercials? And this particular person told me, well, it's very expensive for the city to pay for that. But then, after that discussion, about 3-4 months after that, I interviewed the person, the director of New Mexico True, and I don't think she's there now with this administration. I asked her the same question. I says, what does it cost for a municipality to be featured on TV commercials with New Mexico True? Her answer was, nothing. It's a free service we provide to municipalities. All they gotta do is apply for it and request, and we do it. So does anybody know which is the case? Does it cost us or not?
What we had to do, and we did it last fall, is we applied and we got their help in the money to make the commercial. So under this next fiscal year, we'll be able to run them on the free New Mexico True station.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council, please?
Is this just for discussion, Mayor, or for approval?
All items for consent?
All items for discussion.
Therefore, for the consent agenda?
Yes, for the
Okay.
consent agenda, I need the consensus of the council.
Consent.
Go ahead.
Consent on item 1?
Yes.
Yes.
How about item 2?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you discussed item 3 or...
There's item 3.
Item 3 is also lodger's tax advisory board request.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Bacta, with number 3.
Right, so the third one's pretty straightforward, and so it's about our tourism websites, and so there's monies there for upkeep and hosting and so on, so it's pretty straightforward, an expense that we could do moving forward. So it's the Visit Las Vegas NM, and I believe the other one is our film website. And I think that amount, that was also, because I mean, it could have about 1,700 there.
Perfect.
So again, these were items because we're struggling with our budget, considering how much of a shortfall is there now. These were items we felt needed to be addressed right away for funding. So while we, discuss the rest of the budget that the Lodgers Tax Board will approve to you, these items can get going.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Pertaining to the websites, you said, for the record, were what websites?
I believe it's Visit Las Vegas NM, and so that's our main, and then the other one is our film website.
Okay, and who will be managing those? City staff?
It's city staff. They're a media coordinator.
And if I can, and I don't know if it's up to the council, but could we see the procedures or, anytime anything is uploaded to these sites as to what procedures the follow-through? Is it just posted without city approval, manager approval, or could we follow up on that? That there's an individual that it goes through before just posting?
Everything that, I just checked it out yesterday, everything that's on there has gone through my approval and also through my request.
Okay.
And so, we did something about the event on the park yesterday, but everything that goes on there, even as a PSA, has to have a signature from me.
Okay, just making sure that, okay.
Thank you, sir. Number 3 as well?
Consent.
Consent?
Consent?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bacta. Thank you, Mr. Vogel. Mr. Bacta, please. Mr. Bacta, please give my regards to your mother.
What do you guys need, that over here? You have your meetings over here?
Yes. No, we've been having
Goodell?
Zoom until we can return.
Mr. Mayor, the next item in the agenda is Resolution 20-25 to accept grant agreement for project 20-02 for the purchase of tractor equipment for the Las Vegas Municipal Airport. Mr. Daniel Rivera, Public Safety Manager, will present.
Dr. Taylor, council seeking approval of resolution 2025 to accept the grant agreement for tractor equipment for the Las Vegas Airport. It's going to be a lawnmower where they could cut around their reflectors and stuff. It'll make it their job instead of weeding.
Awesome.
And I stand for any questions.
What size is that lawnmower?
It's going to be a Kubota. It's just a smaller version. Under the deck is underneath, which they could go around the reflectors and stuff around the airport.
And your next resolution, Mr. Goodell?
And I'm here to seek approval of resolution 2026 is to apply and accept grant offer for the Las Vegas Airport and also to award the bid for crack seal marking and to American Road Maintenance Incorporated, contingent on receiving the grant administered by the Federal Aviation Administration.
Okay.
And I stand for any questions on this one.
Concern, Mr. Mayor?
I had a question.
There's resolution number, go ahead, Mr. Montoya.
I was gonna ask you, how come it takes a company from Illinois to come and do that kind of work?
We have to put this one up for bid just because it's kind of like a specialized as far as airport. FAA has a different criteria, the way they do their crack seal and stuff like that.
Okay. And the other question or concern I had, can we include on this contracts that they hire so many people from Vegas, even if it's one person?
We could go and look into it. I mean, they'll probably end up coming with their own crew to do it because it's a specialized type thing. And I know the airport requires a lot, like even on their mixer dining for their landing and stuff like that, they require real high.
Well, you know, I'm concerned with sometimes with this companies that come from out of state, is that we need to include in those contracts, Mr. Mayor, that they hire 10% or 0.5% of their personnel from here, from the local area, so that we can boost our economic up too.
Maybe we could look at an ordinance? Okay, thank you. Thank you. The next resolution, Mr. Gurula?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one question or comment on since we're on the topic of the airport. You know, I haven't been there for a long time, but I visited the airport many times when I was in council before. I think our airport has a lot of potential, but have we done an analysis of, does it have the potential and what would it cost to bring it to the level that we could attract a small airplane carrier? Do we have that potential to be able to offer flights to Albuquerque? I was talking with the city manager and asking, could we do maybe, if that is possible, I said, well, could Highlands be a customer for that? Luna, the United World College, the Highway Department? And I guess what brought this up was that Roswell got from the Federal Aviation Administration $750,000 for their airport, and that's what they're going to be doing, offering flights to Denver.
It's because of their capacity too.
Yeah,
Their runway is a huge runway. It's one of the largest in the United States.
yeah, in Roswell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was there for military purposes
Yeah.
and the space stuff.
Yeah.
That's why they have such an expanded airport. But can I maybe direct the city manager to maybe have a meeting around the development of the airport?
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Council, in fact, Mr. Hendrickson and I went out to the airport with Mr. Boulay. We met with the airport manager and the airport staff just 2 days ago. And I think I was very impressed by the runways, by the buildings, by the upkeep of the airport. And we talked a little bit about that, and I think Mr. Hendrickson's still here. We talked about reviving there's a committee to promote the airport, and so we talked about getting that going again. The airport manager was very enthusiastic about that.
Okay, good. Mr. Billingsley would be an awesome person to, because he's one of our largest customers at the airport. So maybe we can contact him too to help us. All right, what's the pleasure of the council? Consent? Consent? Very well. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gurula. Thank you for all your work, and thanks for your work on that arroyo over there.
Thank you. Our guys, I'll let them know that.
Thank you, please. You guys are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you, Danny.
Mr. Mayor, the next item on the agenda is item number 6, Resolution 20-28, to increase the budget of the Senior Center Program by $11,700, and that's for the assistance payment from San Miguel County. We have Wanda Salazar, our Senior Center Manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Welcome, Wanda. It's good to have you
Good
here.
afternoon, Councilors. Thank you.
You're always
Glad to
welcome.
be here.
You're always welcome.
I made a request, actually, I had a phone call from the San Miguel County County Manager, Vidal, to see if there was any kind of assistance that we may need for our seniors. And so we were in discussion, and what I told him that I thought what seniors needed most was toiletries and non-perishable items, some forms of trying to keep our seniors home. And so he asked me to write up a proposal for him, something simple. And so what I calculated was about a $30 reimbursement to each senior for the population that we were serving at that time. It was about 390 seniors is what we were serving. And we came up with the $11,700 mark. And so since then, it was difficult to purchase the items. This was already during COVID time, and a lot of the suppliers were out of stock with a lot of items. So it's taken a little while to gather stuff, but we've in the last couple weeks, we've actually been dispersing the stuff, and the seniors are very happy to have, they're getting tissue paper, paper towels, gloves, body wash, toothbrush, toothpaste, a bar of soap, and then the non-perishable items to include
That's
beans,
nice.
rice,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So it was very, I was very, appreciative of the county to do that. And so at this point, I just bring forth to increase our budget by that dollar amount. Okay. And I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. City Manager, any comments? I know Mary's not here.
No, we discussed this, and I saw the packets. I went out with, and visited Wanda and her staff at the senior center, and very impressed by their operation and the improvements that we've made over there. This is money from the county, and so, I mean, it's, really, all we're doing is accepting money to help people. It's a good idea.
Very well. What's the pleasure of the council?
Consent?
Consent? Consent? Welcome?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. Please come and report on the senior center every once in a while.
I definitely will.
All right, you're always welcome.
Well, she does go to the station, and in fact, this presentation, and people enjoy her going to the station
Yeah.
to inform them about what's going on in the senior center.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Come visit us at the senior.
I will.
We'll come
promise.
around one of these days.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next item on the agenda is a publication of ordinance 20-03. This is amending the current fire code. We have our Deputy Fire Chief Stephen Span present.
Mr. Span, welcome.
Councilman, how are you doing today?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You're always welcome.
Appreciate that, sir. So, a year ago when I started, the fire chief had me go ahead and start reviewing our ordinances, which are outdated, we need to bring them up to standard. The ordinance I brought before you brings us to the current standard the State of New Mexico Fire Marshal's Office has adopted. It's the International Fire Code 2015. The only changes this will make, in addition to state fire, is it will establish our own Fire Prevention and Enforcement Bureau, a fire marshal position, which it doesn't change any pay or hire anyone else, a fee and penalty schedule so we can actually enforce our codes in our city instead of enforcing them through the state. When we do that, we lose funding. So the penalties collected will come back to us. Basically, that's all we have in here. Penalties, it'll allow us to issue permits for businesses every year, $25 per, to help recover costs for inspections. It'll charge for firework permits as well, for vendors. And it'll also require any vendor that does sprinkler systems, fire alarms, fire extinguishers, anything to do with fire service, they will have to provide us with a copy of the state certificate of fitness and get one issued through our city as well.
So did you say that this would allow it wouldn't hire a fire marshal, or you already have
It would
one?
make basically whoever the deputy chief is, who's the fire inspector now for the city, the fire marshal. And allow them to have the authority of the fire marshal that's under the International Fire Code that we'd be adopting.
Okay. With proper certifications?
With proper certifications, which we have at this time, sir. And it also forms a board of appeals for this process as well.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the council?
Consent?
Consent?
Consent.
Consent? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Span. You're welcome here anytime.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next and last item on the agenda for discussion is resolution number 20-27. This is a resolution to adopt a municipal records retention schedule and email retention guidelines. And of course, this is my resolution. And the schedule was developed to provide a uniform retention schedule for the clerk's office.
Sure.
We had been using the state records and archives
Yes.
retention schedule, which was very difficult to manage and to determine where the records, in what series they belong to. So the Municipal Leagues First, which I'm part of, they put this together, and it took them a couple of years to get it together, but they did. and it follows all state statutes.
Wonderful.
All of those, and the way it's organized now is in 20 departments. It's going to be a lot easier for us to determine where these records belong. And then that'll assist the clerk's office also in the disposition of records, so we don't need to dispose of them.
Sure.
And so we can track them and whatnot. So this would help us. These schedules have been passed throughout the state, through all the different municipalities.
Oh, good.
So at this time, I'm asking for council's consideration for this
Okay.
resolution.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Consent?
Consent?
Consent? Mr. Montoya?
Consent.
Okay, Mr. Baca?
Yes, consent.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, years ago, I went down to the basement just to look through all the minutes of past meetings. I was so amazed, and I'm wondering, are those being archived or saved? I was amazed at how, before the days of computers, somebody, a city clerk at that time, they would handwrite every little detail, beautiful handwriting. Are those considered historic documents?
Yes, they are, Counselor.
So-
And in fact, those are in our safe. I don't know if you've seen the
Okay.
safe in City Hall.
Yeah.
If the city were to burn down,
Burn.
it would be the only thing standing.
That's why I was asking, yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mayor.
There's a motion by Mr. Baca, second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call.
Counselor Uribarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Baca?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Baca, second by Counselor Montoya. Mr. Mayor, motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.